To be or not to be? That is the question posed by the Danish Prince Hamlet in perhaps the most quoted line of Shakespeare's 37 plays. It is my intention to illustrate why Shakespeare must stay in our schools and should remain a compulsory constituent within our curriculum. Let me begin with a brief overview of how I have benefited from studying the Bard. In addition to studying Shakespeare in the English classroom and learning about fascinating characters like the mischievous Puck of A Midsummer Night's Dream or the much maligned Shylock of The Merchant of Venice, I have also had the opportunity to perform Shakespeare. As Caitlin alluded to in her introduction, I was given the opportunity to perform as Petruchio in the English-speaking Union Performing Shakespeare competition, a contest which gave me the opportunity to perform on the West End stage. It was an unforgettable day, which as a budding actor and performer has given me a confidence and an understanding of Shakespeare's tapestry. Now, I appreciate not all of today's generation of teenagers are as enthusiastic about Shakespeare as I am. Indeed, Nancy might try to paint a picture of disaffected teenagers bored by the Bard in English classrooms. Yet, I wholeheartedly disagree. Surely, in a society immersed in digital technology and obsessed by social media, it is even more important that the works of Shakespeare should remain sacred within the classroom. Think of famous speeches like Henry's rousing calls to arms at Agincourt and his band of brothers, or Juliet's love for Romeo and the iconic balcony scene, where she asks, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" Shylock's poignant "Hath not a Jew" speech, or the soliloquies of Shakespeare's procrastinating revenger, Hamlet. Words that have survived the centuries and remain on the top tip of our tongues to this day. But don't just take my word for it. Academic Sir Simon Schama believes that children should be studying more Shakespeare, not less. He argues that by banishing the Bard, that there is a real danger you can be shockingly patronising to children. We are in danger of depriving our students of one of the greatest writers of all time. Interestingly, the new Welsh curriculum, which has removed Shakespeare as a named writer, much to the horror of English teachers, and perhaps to Nancy's amusement, actively encourages students to become ambitious, capable learners, ready to learn throughout their lives. But how can they achieve this without Shakespeare? Schama goes on to state that children love questions being raised that can't quite be answered. Shakespeare's plays are fantastic illustrations of developing a sense of inquiry and curiosity. Why does Macbeth listen to Lady Macbeth? Why does King Lear banish Cordelia? And why doesn't Hamlet just get on with it? My opposer, Nancy, might argue that by making Shakespeare compulsory in schools, we are advocating an archaic and old-fashioned curriculum for our learners. She might state that in an era of emojis and emoticons, that Shakespeare's language and its obsolete pronouns like thy, thou and thine just don't belong in 21st century schools. Yet one of Shakespeare's greatest appeals as a playwright, whether being performed in the Globe Theatre of the 16th century or in modern adaptations streaming on Netflix, it is the universality and timelessness of his writing. Now let's look at the evidence. Romeo and Juliet is essentially a play that focuses on gang warfare, an issue that remains very real in some of Britain's biggest cities. Shakespeare's Henry V focuses on an increased sense of patriotism and captures a jingoistic fever, which one can argue might resonate with some of the pro-Brexit rhetoric seen on the political right. And if we focus on the Scottish play, or Macbeth for those of you unaware of the actor's curse, it is a drama which focuses on a divided kingdom. And do I really need to mention Brexit again? Finally, plays like Othello and The Merchant of Venice deal head-on with issues of racial and religious discrimination and resonate with modern audiences who are well aware of such conflicts within our modern societies. And as I reach a conclusion, let me finish not with the words of Shakespeare, but by one of his contemporaries, the playwright Ben Jonson. Upon hearing of his friend's passing, Jonson wrote in tribute to Shakespeare that his works were not of an age, but for all time. Shakespeare must remain an integral part of our learners' school experience. Diolch yn fawr.